Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Cat Chat Live webinar. My name is Nancy Stevens. I manage parent and family communications here at the University of Kentucky, and I'm really glad to have you with us here today. Today's topic is life in the halls. 2 weeks ago, we had a really great webinar with the Director of Housing looking at Big Blue Move-In. But as we talked about that day, move-in is just one day in the entire academic year. And so we really today want to spend some time with our friends in residence life to look at what day-to-day life looks like in the halls and how you can support your student in having a really positive residential experience with us at the University of Kentucky. So before I turn things over to them, as you all know, I like to do a little bit of housekeeping if you've been with us for these webinars already. So as a reminder, you'll use the Zoom Q&A feature to communicate with us. My Res Life colleagues have a lot of good content to share with you. So if you'll hold your questions until they go through that, then we'll take as many of your questions as we can with our remaining time. We try to keep these Cat Chat Lives to an hour because we know that everybody's got busy schedules and we want to get you on with your day. As always, my colleague Kate is behind the scenes putting links and relevant information that you need to know in the chat, so be looking for that there. If you're not able to stay with us for the entire hour today, we totally understand. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording link will be available in the Cat Chat family community later today so that you can go back and watch. If you have questions that don't pertain to residence life and UK's residence halls, don't forget you can always email parents@uky.edu to get some additional support from the Office of Family and Civic Engagement. And then last here on the slide, we will send you a survey. You'll get a link to it after the webinar today. We would really appreciate it if you would take a little bit of time and give us some feedback on how today's webinar met your needs and what remaining questions you still have. That really helps us inform the content that goes in the Cat Chat family community and the topics that we do additional Cat Chat Lives on. So I do want to put in a quick plug for our remaining Cat Chat Lives here in our summer series. On Wednesday, we're going to keep going with our theme of life in the residence halls, but Wednesday's theme goes even a little bit more broader than that. So the Office of Student Conduct will be with us to talk about college conflicts. You know, when you live in community, when you're in these spaces, classrooms, residence hall rooms, you know, student organizations, there's going to be opportunity for conflict. It's just how we humans are, isn't it? And so we want you to have some tools in your belt to be able to support your student if they ever experience a conflict with a classmate, roommate, or peer. And so I hope you'll consider joining us on Wednesday for that. Then looking ahead to next week, student organizations and activities will be with us to talk about K-Week, our fall welcome week here at the University of Kentucky, and how to get involved on campus. And then you can see from there, we get into some financial topics, wellness, safety, all sorts of good topics there. If you're able to join us live, the registration links for each webinar can be found in the Cat Chat family community. And then if you're not able to join us live, you don't need to worry about registering. You'll just view those recording links in Cat Chat after the fact. So one last plug for the Cat Chat family community. That's your hub of information, your one-stop shop for family communications here at the University of Kentucky. And we hope it's been a really valuable resource for you. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to my colleagues with the Office of Residence Life. Kenyatta and Alex are here with you today. They're going to share some really good information, and then I'll be back in after they're done to facilitate some Q&A. Kenyatta, Alex, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Nancy. We really appreciate it. So hello, everyone. My name is Kenyatta Jeter. I serve as the Associate Director for the Office of Residence Life, and I'll let Alex introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Alex Duenzel. Sorry, I think that might have cut out a little bit. My name is Alex Duenzel. I am the Resident Director of Holmes Hall on North Campus.
So we're so excited to have you guys with us today. So thank you for spending your lunch hour with us. We know this is a big moment for your family and your Wildcat, and maybe even something that you've been imagining to happen for years. And so for many of us, this might be a first time that you're dropping off your child at a college, and it's completely normal to have a mix of pride, excitement, and possibly even a little bit of anxiety. But we want to just give you a window into what happens in the halls and what it actually looks like so you can help prepare you and your students and know who's going to be there to support them. What are some things where they might struggle? But most importantly, how are those struggles most often used to help them grow in these spaces? And so we want to share some practical guidance for how you can partner with us this year and encourage your student to look through the ups and downs of their first year with us. So to kick us off, we often tell families that, your student isn't just moving into a room, they're entering into a community. And that community is carefully designed to support not only, comfort, but also their development. And so UK Housing manages the room assignments and the building maintenance. And so we, as the Office of Residence Life, which, I help lead and Alex is a part of, we focus on the people. And so those experiences within the residence halls. We hope that we are making sure that your student feels a sense of belonging and knows how to navigate campus life and has someone to turn to when they need guidance. We create these conditions for students to stretch, take healthy risks, and build independence that they'll need to go beyond college. So living on campus puts students right in the middle of a vibrant, diverse community. And so it is convenient. They are close to their classes, dining halls, the resources. But what really sets this experience apart is the built-in structure for growth. So for many students, this is the first time they've had to share space, navigate different perspectives, or even manage responsibilities without a parent nearby. That can be a little bit bumpy for some, and so it can also be transformational for others. And so our job is just to help students learn from those moments and not to avoid them. So just to keep it general, I'll let Alex do some more of our detailed conversation here. Our support system is made up of several different layers. Every building has a resident director or an RD like Alex, who's joining me today. And RDs are a full-time staff who live in the buildings and are trained to support students through everything from roommate challenges to leadership opportunities. Each floor or wing will also have an RA who is a student leader who serves as a mentor and a first point of contact should there be any sort of need or crisis or conflict that is happening on the floor. They help build relationships, they check in regularly, and they create community. We have desk clerks and community administrative assistants, and they round out our team at our front desk. They help with logistics, access, and do a little bit of everyday problem solving for us.
Yeah, like Kenyatta said, we as resident directors live in the building. We are readily available. We have an on-call structure system. So we do have RAs, RDs on call at all hours, 24/7. We really are there to help support your students and create a safe environment for them as best as possible. So what does this support look like a little bit further? We have our resident advisors. So in homes, to kind of go off that structure, I'm the resident director. And then I have 17 RAs, AKA resident advisors, who work in our building. They have roughly 38 to like 45 students, typically on average for homes, just due to the layout. There's about 3 of them per floor, and then they're split up per sections of the floor. They are your front man, so to speak, and front woman. They are our student staff. They work very hard. They go through extensive training. We're about to go through 2 full weeks of training with them to be readily available to assist your students through anything they may be going through. They also create this opportunity to be engaged in our communities on campus. So this year we'll have floor events, building-wide events. They have their own impact teams. So some of them have a little bit of a specialty towards academic or well-being. We have a variety, so the RAs are ready to support each other, but overall, then in turn, are able to support your students. Then we have us, resident directors. So you know what? If your student's having a roommate conflict, their first phone call or text message is going to be to their RA. Then the RA is going to let us know regardless of the situation. So we're always in the loop because we do, even if our buildings are very massive, I promise you, we are like, if something comes to light and your student tells our RAs about something, we know about it. I can promise you, we are on top of it. We try to stay as on top of it as possible, knowing within like 12 hours, like if at all possible. Um, we live and work from home. It's all one place for us. But we navigate through that pretty effectively, and we give resources to our students. So RAs try to help navigate a roommate conflict. It's maybe not working. It needs another step, another level to it. We're here for that. We now go in to facilitate the dialogue between roommates. We make sure that the building doesn't, crumble and burn down, which is why please don't bring candles. I know they're cutesy, but I want to make sure that the buildings stay intact. So we stay on top of that stuff for the sake of everybody living in the building, because that is multiple people that would be affected. And then, like I said a little bit earlier, we do provide 24/7 on-call coverage for the campus, for our sections of campus, whether it's north, south, central. We always have a line of defense, support. That's the best way I could say against anything that we need to be tackling.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex.
Of course.
We're talking about how do we help your students to succeed? And I mentioned earlier that I'm an associate director, and my area is the student experience. And so I manage a lot of the programming and events that happen in the halls. And we really want to take a holistic approach to, your students' engagement when they're living with us. So their well-being is supported through things like the counseling center, wellness events, academic resources, and even our case management services should they need. So beyond those, what really matters most for us is the connection. How does your student feel like they belong in their residence hall at UK, in the Lexington community? Students who feel connected to their peers, to their staff, they develop a purpose and are more likely to stay, succeed, and thrive at UK. That's why we focus so much on community, communication, and that personalized support. So your role for us is really important too. Even though it's changing a little bit, one of the best things that you all can do to help us is normalize some of that struggle. It's a part of, their growth. And so most students will hit a tough patch, toward the middle of semester, in August they kick off, they're developing connections, meeting new people. September, and some of those academic pieces start to kick in. Around October, we get ready to start midterms, and there's like a leveling, and you're wondering, oh man, do I have what it takes to hack it? And so there's a little tough patch there that we're looking for you all to help partner with us to navigate through, what those things may look like for your student. That might look like, homesickness. It might be uncertainty about their major or just frustration with their roommate. So instead of solving the problem for them, coach them through it. Encourage small steps forward. Remind them that asking for help is a part of adulthood. And when they do make progress, even if it's something very small, celebrate that effort that they, advocated for themselves, they spoke up, they got the help that they needed, and that reinforcement really does matter for them. So, what can you do to help us out? When your student calls home upset about a roommate, your instinct may be like, let me jump in, let me figure out, let me call, let me help you out. But what is needed most is for your student to have that confidence in their ability to work through it. How are they reaching out to the RA or to the RD? How are they starting that conversation with their roommate initially? You can ask questions like, have you talked to your RA? Or what did you want to say to your roommate? And help them navigate that conversation. Encourage them to revisit their roommate agreement. Those will be distributed during the first week of classes, and we give about a 3 or 4 week period. And Alex will talk about this a little bit more in depth, but for them to have those conversations about time to study. Are you an early bird or you're a night owl? I'm a midday. I don't do the late or the early. So maybe you need to have that conversation as well. But you will encourage them to revisit their roommate agreement, ask their RA for facilitated dialogue around the conflict that they may be happening. And unless there's a safety issue, try to avoid jumping straight to a room change. It's a short circuit and it can short circuit, but it can also be a valuable learning experience for our students. Some other ways that we've seen families set their student up for success is just to help normalize some of that discomfort. Again, encourage that help-seeking behavior, cheer on their effort, and not just the outcomes, right? Sometimes you might get what you want out of it and you may not get what you want out of it, but just knowing that you put in the effort to help solve that conflict is a great milestone for them. And most importantly, staying connected in a way that gives your student room to lead themselves through this process. When they know that you believe in their ability to figure things out, it builds their confidence. You're not necessarily stepping back, you're just stepping alongside them in a way to kind of help them, you know, reframe and celebrate those efforts and give them the space to lead themselves through this process. Okay, so let's talk about some things that happen after moving. So moving is exciting, but it is just the beginning. I know that moving is such a big piece of this part, right? But a lot of things happen behind the scenes and on the scenes after they move in. That's really exciting for us. So the real work of community building really starts within those first few weeks. And so your student will attend a floor meeting on August 20th at 6 o'clock, and they will complete their roommate agreement and begin their first intentional conversation with their RA, all within the first 2 weeks of the semester starting. And so those touch points are designed to create early connection and really give students something that they can go to or someone they can go to for support when they need it.
Yeah, I can touch on this. One of the most exciting portions of this job is to be able to create these spaces for our students to come together as a community. Obviously, we really, really encourage them to get involved. They will probably hear, get involved 50,000 times while they're completing their degree, while they're here. But we mean that not to be repetitive, but of a place of we do want to see them happy and thriving and succeeding, and also hopefully cultivating some friendships that might last a lifetime. Um, so as Kenyatta was saying, like on the slides, there are some of the important dates that you might just want to like take a picture. I know these get recorded so you can go back to rewatch and everything later on. But really try to emphasize to your students to be coming to these events and to be completing these things. Our roommate agreement process is mandatory this year. We are trying to encourage them to be getting those done, hopefully very shortly thereafter they receive them, and not to put it on the back burner. We'll be doing some fun events with our roommate agreements. We have a whole week dedicated to it. We'll have food in the hallways for breakfast one morning where they get to talk about things like their sleep schedules with their roommates if they choose to come and participate. But we do all of these things as kind of an incentive to be thinking about how they want to be roommates to one another and how they want to fill this stuff out. So all of the programming that we do, it has some form of intent, whether even if it's just a social event just to get to talk to other people, or if it's got resources attached to it. We're very focused on it towards finals. I can speak for Holmes. We did an event. We knew obviously students are staying up late. We got them hooked up with a coffee bar. There was tea available and cocoa if you're not a coffee person. And then we got the Wildcat. We had the mascot in the building. People could take pictures, have a fun time. The Wildcat was really making people laugh. It's a good time. But we do stuff like that a lot. And hopefully your students will hear a lot more about it because we are transferring to an app called Band this year where the RDs and RAs will be able to communicate our building wide events, hopefully in a more central location. Because let's face it, we all have these on us at all times. So hopefully your students will get those notifications. Just please be encouraging them to come. We love to have them. And then, sorry, I feel like I've been rambling, but I'm just so excited to tell you about all of the things. We have our Cats Up sessions. So there's 2 of these a semester. This is very important for us and our resident staff. We are going to push very hard for your students to complete all 4 of these as the school year goes on. They're probably going to be so sick of hearing it from us. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. But we do that for good reason. We want to make sure that we are monitoring how they are doing throughout the school year. So these sessions have slight variations on some of our questions. Some of them do stay the same as far as like, how are you doing emotionally, health-wise? academically, we want to track that. And if a student marks that they are not doing well at all, that flags to the resident director immediately. And now we are making sure that the RAs, who are already meeting with every resident in a session anyways, they're having those one-on-one conversations. We're pushing your student to the front line. Listen, hey, this student said that they were not doing well academically. If that student is available, obviously we can't like force them, but if that student is available within the next 24 to 48 hours, like please be meeting with them, because we want to make sure that they we're prioritizing some. Like if we have a student that's doing great, they're still going to get met with, but they're doing great. So, we're like, okay, cool. Noted. Very glad to hear that. But it's a really good opportunity for your students to express if they are needing help. And it is in a confidential manner between literally the RA, myself, potentially, depending on how they mark it, and the student. We just want to make sure we are able to provide the appropriate resources in a timely manner for them to have the best potential outcome with whatever matter we're tackling in the moment. So please encourage them to do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Another little plug, we are having a very large campus-wide event on August 27th. It is our Howdy Neighbor event. And so we are inviting all of our residents out who are either on the north side of campus, central side of campus, or the south side of campus to come outside, meet your building neighbors, meet your courtyard neighbors, really hoping to build a lot of great connections. So definitely want to encourage you all to encourage your students to attend their Howdy Neighbor block party. And so we're super excited about, that's our first big welcome event for the year. So really excited about that event. But looking to, use you all as partners. Again, we are partners with you in supporting your student. We encourage you to explore our website, learn about our support structures, and reach out if you ever have a broader concern about anything. Remind your student that they play a role in their own safety. They need to tap in, respect our policies, which we'll go over during our first floor meeting on August 20th, and look out for one another. The best support is peer support. And so we want to make sure that we are caring for each other, supporting one another, so that we all continue to live in a safe environment. Tell them to not forget to register for UK alerts. It's one more way to stay informed. And so we dropped a link on the slide, if you can see it, to definitely get registered for the UK alerts. And they're actually doing a new app this year. And so I'm sure you guys will learn about that soon too. But really wanted to say thank you all for your time today. Here's how to stay in touch with us. Again, if you ever have a question, reach out to us directly. Thank you for your time and your investment in your students' journey. We're so glad that they're coming, and we're honored to be a part of your Wildcat story. So thank you all.
Can I add one quick thing?
Yeah.
Parents, we love working with you all. We are so happy that our students have advocates for them. We're so glad to be working in collaboration, like King Otto was saying. And I really do hope we get to continue as resident directors with the parents and the students involved. We get to continue to grow those relationships. We really are here to fully help you all as best as possible, specifically your student. Your student's the forefront of our concern. That's why I get up in the mornings and do this job. I love them. But I just want, again, just to encourage, hey, have you talked with somebody about it? I will be the first one to be helping them. And the RAs will be the first ones to be helping them if we know about it. We just want to know if they are having issues. So please encourage them just to let us know. And that's really just my plug of tell them, because I would love to hear about it. No matter what the matter is, I want to help them. And so that's it. That's how I wanted to end that. But
that was such great info. We've started to get questions. So folks, if you also have questions, use that Q&A feature and we'll spend our next few minutes taking some of those. Jennifer had a quick request if you would put the second to last slide back up on the screen for a sec. So that may have been the one with the dates. I don't quite remember.
Let's see.
We'll do that one first.
This one.
Hopefully that was the one Jennifer had in mind. If not, we can go to a different slide again.
Yes.
All right. So the first question that we got is how and when will students receive information on who their RA is and how they can contact their RA? I know you all mentioned you're in training right now. I know that there is a lot of training for everybody in all of the different roles you mentioned. So how do students figure out who their RA is, and when can they anticipate connecting with them for the first time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now we are still making room assignments. So our rosters are a bit in influx still right now. And so we haven't really solidified everyone. But as Alex mentioned, the RAs will start moving in this weekend. We will go through some trainings. And so once we get closer to moving, the RA will connect with their student. But if a student wants to know who is over that floor right now, they can feel free to reach out to the resident director and they can share who those who the RAs are for what wing. But right now we haven't again, we're still in influx with assignments. And so RAs haven't reached out to their students yet. We try to do it a little bit closer to the semester starting.
I will also recommend if you're reaching out to the resident directors, since we are in and out of training, we are not in our offices right now. So if you do call our office phones, we're probably not going to answer. I mean, you can leave a voicemail and it'll come to our email so we can like hear it later. But I would just recommend emailing. Our email should be on there too,
Yeah.
just because we are so in and out doing so many things right now.
Yeah, it's been busy, back to school preparation time for sure. Kenyatta, Jennifer said if you would go to the next slide, that's one that she was after. So easy
The
enough
next,
to do that
this one?
one. Yep, think so. All
Okay.
right. So then our next question was, how do families, I'm assuming it's families, but students either way, find out the on-call contact information for where they're living?
Oh, so okay. I can answer this. Obviously, for the sake of privacy of all of our student staff and students, we do not give out specific phone numbers to be contacted. Your residents will have their group chat with their RA. They can also message their RA individually. However, our RAs are not all on call every single night. We do have like a rotating schedule. What happens with that is we know the schedule, but we keep that confidential. If your resident does have any issue of concern, they will go to the front desk. The front desk will contact the people who are on call, and the appropriate people will respond to the situation. So though we do keep that information private, we do have a system for it, and somebody will be there.
Yeah, I'll add to that. So our on-call support system starts at 4 p.m. every day. And so there's a couple of levels. And so our first line level is our RA. So they go on at 4. And then we have our professional staff. So individuals like Alex, our resident directors. And so the RAs will report to the resident directors if there's an issue. And then the resident directors will call our assistant or associate directors who serve as our executive team on call. And Dr. Blevins, who is our Director of Residence Life and AVP, he is on call all the time. And so if we ever have a question, we'll call him. So there's several levels of on-call response to address any kind of crisis issues on campus. Again, we have 24, our desks are open 24 hours, 7 days a week during the year. And so there's always someone at the front desk if a student ever has an issue. And again, I mentioned that there's 3 areas of campus, so north, south, and central. And so there'll be 3 resident directors on call for north, south, and central at all times. And then there's 1 assistant or associate director who's on call. And then we call Justin if we need anything further. And so that's pretty much what our on-call response looks like. And so again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And during the 8 to 5 hour, resident directors are the point person during the day.
That leads us in nicely to another related question. How do students know who their RD is? And I know Kate's put the staff link in the chat, but anything you want to say about kind of how students initially connect with their RDs?
Yeah, so usually during our first floor meeting, our RDs will go around to each of their RA's meetings and introduce themselves to their students. You will also see a resident director there, live and in charge, managing, moving all day long. And so feel free to find them in a black or blue or gray polo. They will be there all day, helping people check in at the front desk, moving the lines through. If you come by the front desk and you can ask for the resident director, you can meet with the resident director. So there's plenty of opportunity for you all to engage with them and get to know who they are. And they really are looking for you all to do that. So please feel free to always want to connect, need to connect, whatever you need, they're there for you.
I'll also be, I mean, I'm sure a lot of resident directors will probably do this, but now that we're switching the band there's like a central group, like a central chat where the RDs and the RAs can post out the information. We'll probably be doing some introductory posts on there as well, just so that way students can put faces to names, and then that way they can associate, okay, these are the RAs of the building, even though they're not mine, and this is my RD. So hopefully the technological communications will be a little bit better this year too.
All right. So our next question is about that first floor meeting. Someone was asking if it was mandatory. If I'm reading between the lines here, I'm guessing that they're thinking, oh, but that's also when K-Week starts. So I know that you all work very closely in conjunction with the Office of Student Organizations and Activities, but if you could speak a little bit to that, that Wednesday, because it's a busy day with our last day of Big Blue Move-In for new students, that first floor meeting, going straight into K-Week.
Yes, so the first floor meeting is highly, highly required. That is where you'll meet people, or your students will meet people on their floor. The RRA will go through all of our university housing community standards. And so these are policies that your student is responsible for upholding. And so that it is very important that they learn that information during that meeting. We have partnered with our DOS colleagues with student orgs and activities to help get our students to the Wildcat Welcome. And so they know that this meeting is happening at 6. And I think the Wildcat Welcome kicks off at 8 or 8:30. I want to say 8. And so we will help manage and flow your students so they will not miss any of those opening activities, but this will kick off what K-Week will look like for us. And so we do need them at that first floor meeting. It's very, very important that they attend that meeting.
Yep, got a related question asking if parents and families attend that first floor meeting too.
No, that is for our students.
Yeah, some of that is
another
some of it's logistical. Like, where would you put everybody?
Yeah, it's so many. So visitation actually won't start until noon on that Thursday. And so if you were to come, a student will have to check you in. And we have, again, 24/7 check-in visitation for our students, but our visitation won't start until the noon on the 21st.
Yep. And another follow-up question about that floor meeting, ask about students in the marching band. Are you all also coordinating with marching band on their schedule to be available for that first floor meeting?
They should be, we should be. I cannot guarantee, I won't speak completely to that one, but they are aware. We are making people aware of when that meeting is and when it's posted.
Yeah. All right. So keeping on with our events theme, got a question asking how students can find events and information related to their specific living learning programs.
Yeah, so most living learning programs have posted a lot of their events in BB Involved. I would recommend reaching out to whoever the LLP coordinator is as well, if you need more specifics on those events, or your peer mentor. And so peer mentors will be coming next week as well, or the week after next, to get their training to help and welcome you all or your students at campus as well. So those events should be in BB Involved. And so that's where all of our campus events are held in on that platform. And so if you go to Google UKY BB Involved, that will take you to all of the events on campus, and you can look up your specific LLP, and they should list all of their events in those spaces too.
Yep, that's a good Google tip that I share as well, and Kate can put the link in the chat for BB Involved as well. So speaking of our LLPs, got a question, that we've mentioned some directional things, North Campus, South Campus, Central Campus, and all that, and ask if that included the, I believe she's asking about the living learning programs. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how the living learning programs are embedded in those different residence halls.
Yeah, so living learning programs are in all areas of campus. So they're on North, South, and Central as well. So it depends on which one you're, involved with. But they're more than welcome to attend our events. The living learning programs host their own events in those halls as well. And again, most of them will have peer mentors in those spaces too. And so whatever the residence hall is planning, LLP students are more than welcome to attend. We would love for them to attend as usual.
And sometimes we collaborate on some of those events as well. Our RAs might work with the peer mentors of the LLP. We've hosted a Master Chef event in the past with the Creative Arts LLP in Holmes. But we're also looking at some really fun things to get both LLPs, because I also have the Leadership and Service LLP in Holmes as well. We're looking at some really fun ways to get our students engaged this year. So hopefully they're on the lookout if they're living in Holmes. just be on the lookout.
I always love the creative events that are going on all around campus. It never ceases to amaze me. All right, so Tammy's asking where families can find the mailing address for each building. So I know that there's a website with a link we can put in the chat, but where in general can folks find that information?
Yeah, if you are moving in, actually our addresses are right above our mailboxes. I believe in all the buildings. If you can't find it there, you can absolutely ask the front desk or a worker during move-in, and we can show it to you online or get it to you right then and there on the spot. You can also Google the building's name, and if you click on that page, you should just be able to scroll towards the bottom, and it should have the address too.
Absolutely. All right. So our next question is, when do roommates usually reach out to each other to figure out who's bringing what? I'm proactive. My student is less, so just want to make sure the expectation is realistic. So do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, I would recommend reaching out as soon as possible. It's a great opportunity to get to know, for your students to get to know each other. It's definitely awesome to talk about what, what will fit, who's bringing what. There are things that the rooms are spacious, but they're not as, for both to bring two of the same thing might be a bit much. And so if they know who they've been assigned to, I would definitely reach out, to them. And if they don't have that information available to them, you can reach out to campus housing and they should be able to provide the email to your student to reach out to who their roommate may be. They'll provide it to their student, but they may not provide it to the parents. So just be aware of that.
Got a follow-up question about mailing. When do students get access to their mailbox?
By technicality, day one, they will receive during move-in, they'll receive their mailbox key. It is the smaller one. If you go to a building that has 2 keys in the envelope, we do get questions about that. The big one is for, if you have 2 keys, the big one is for your actual bedroom door after you get into the main door with the tap on your phone. But mail will not start until, is it Kenyatta, do you remember the date on this?
I think it's that Friday. We'll start delivering back to the halls.
Yes, but they'll have access. And then if they have a package that does not fit in the mailbox, they will receive, actually, this is a really good note. They'll receive an email from like Res Life, so to speak. It comes out from our student staff who is logging the packages and putting them in the back. Obviously, everything will not fit in those teeny tiny slots. If they get that, once they get that email, they can come down to the front desk and we'll get it to them. But sometimes they do get the email from the company that it was delivered. It might take like until that afternoon or until the next day before it gets processed through campus to the residence hall. So if they do get the delivered email, tell them to give it at least 24 hours before they start panicking. And then if they don't see anything, just come and ask our front desk and we'll get it all figured out.
All right. So Terry's saying they're an old RA from another school. My son's an incoming freshman and is interested in becoming an RA. What are the qualifications in the process? So I love Terry's thinking ahead.
Yes. So to have lived on for, or at least a little bit of a live on experience, at least a semester, a 2.5 GPA, good standing with our conduct office, and good standing obviously with the university. And so we will be interviewing candidates in October. So our time frame is a little bit earlier, and so be on the lookout. Usually the application will go live October 1st, and then we will host interviews late November, early December. And then our candidates who are joining the process will be asked to participate in a RA leadership lab. And so in that leadership lab will happen in the spring semester for about 6 weeks. And so it is just courses that the RAs who are in that process will go through to learn about the job, learn about the background of residence life, some of the things that they'll have to do as RAs. And those who complete that course will then go on to be in the pool to be selected for the next academic year. So it is a process, but it will kick off in October.
And I just put the residence life employment opportunity link in the chat as well, because I know that's got information about desk clerks and RAs and all of those positions. All right, so our next question is, how do we find out answers to silly questions like, do you use laundry pods or liquid detergent? Not so silly, but not sure where to find this info. So I agree, it's not so silly. Folks are figuring all of this out for the first time, and I know this is a question that came up at orientation. And my experience in talking to our first year experience ambassadors was that they all have different opinions on it. So would y'all like to weigh in on, things like doing laundry in the halls?
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely can do that. Okay, well, at least laundry is free, so they no longer have to pay for it, which was a perk that just started last year. Um, I will say, laundry within itself is a process. Obviously, there's only so many washers, dryers, and with X amount of residents in a building, everybody's got their own time frames. Really, it's gonna depend on whatever's working for you. I will say, like in the past, this was not at UK, but in my college experience, I preferred Tide Pods. They were easier to carry with my laundry basket opposed to the big jugs. They didn't leave sometimes. Not ours, but some of the other places have washers that if you use the detergent, it stains up your clothes, like it leaves those little stains. I just prefer Tide Pods. It's really personal preference. You can also, we do have the feature to use things like bleach. We just ask that, like, maybe if your student uses it, just to run it for a really quick cycle after they get done, just so that way it doesn't accidentally bleach somebody else's clothes. But all completely options. Some of our students do it at 4 a.m., some do it at 6 a.m., some do it middle of the day. Up to you.
And I'll also add during the first floor meeting on the 20th, we'll have some different rules that they can go by when using pods or if they're using the liquid, like how many pods to use, how much liquid to use, how much clothes to put inside. Let's not overload because that can cause the washers to give out, if you will. And so we'll have some notes on how to do laundry effectively.
Right, families, you all have a few more weeks to teach them some things about doing their own laundry, scrubbing their own toilets, all those things that they're going to be responsible for once they move in. It's time for those crash courses for sure. All right, our next question is, what's the difference between the Live Safe app and the UK alerts mentioned on this slide? And UK is in the process of switching safety apps from Live Safe, which we formerly used, to the Safe Zone app, and we'll put the link to the Safe Zone website in the chat. But if you all wouldn't mention or wouldn't mind talking about UK Alert versus what's in the app.
Yeah, so UK Alert usually are alerts that the university will put out if there's a gas leak, if there's well, not necessarily, I won't say bad weather, but if there's any kind of like shooting or any kind of danger to the community in the area, they'll send out a UK alert or all clear, just informing, the campus area. The Safe Zone app, that app, what I understand, because it's new for us too, if your student is, let's say, walking from their car to their building, they can have a friend watch them walk in the app. They can click for emergency services if they need anything. They can call UKPD if they need anything. And so that app just helps, your student feel safer. And if they're, again, traveling with a friend or want someone to watch where they are, where they're going, they can do that. So it is a parameter around the university. So there's a set limit, but they can see where they're going and where they're coming. So it'll be a nice little added features for them.
They can also do an tip reporting for non-emergent situations. So if they are like parking in the parking garage and they notice there's people up on a certain floor and it just seems like a concerning situation, they can report stuff like that. So it's pretty neat. We've been messing around with it. I was trying to showcase it a little bit while Kenyatta was talking to give a visual aid of like, there is an emergency button right at the bottom when you click into if your student needs it.
Yeah, and UK Police will be doing a Cat Chat Live with us on the 13th. So we'll be addressing more of these safety questions later, but links are in the chat for both Safe Zone and UK Alert. All right, so our next question relates a little bit more to move-in, but asking if when students should receive their move-in packet that has their hall code card and move-in day info. I'll ask Kate to put the Big Blue Move-In link in the chat. My understanding is that those are en route. Don't know if y'all have talked to our housing colleagues and have any updates on that, but when we did the Cat Chat Live with them about 2 weeks ago, they said in the next few weeks. So I would assume in the next week or so, folks should start to get those, but all of the information, those hall code cards and all of that is available on the Move-In website right now. All right, then our next question also is related to the move-in schedule. It says, my daughter's scheduled to move in on Wednesday, August 20th in the afternoon. It says, when do parents get kicked out? I'm assuming it is not going to be like a bouncer situation, but just so that that floor meeting can start, when will families be encouraged to make their way out of the halls?
Yeah, so floor meetings do start at 6, and so students will not be able to have visitors at that point. So when you have visitors over, you have to escort them at all times when they're within the building. And so because they'll be in that meeting at 6, we won't be able to have any visitors. And so I won't say that we are kicking you out. You're more than welcome to hang in the lobby until your student is done, but we will be kicking off the K-Week festivities starting at 6.
Yeah, my recommendation would be that's a great time for families to go get a meal. If you're staying in town the night of the 20th, go relax. Moving is not fun for anyone. I have yet to meet anybody who's like, yes, we get to move. You might be excited about being settled somewhere else, but the actual move-in process is never a blast. No matter whether that's here, there, anywhere. I've never had a move-in experience like that. But yeah, so that's a great time for folks to give their students some time to connect with their residence hall, suite mates, floor mates, all of that, and then for them to head to the first K-Week event. And so would want students to be able to focus on that. All right, so then had a follow-up question about, I mentioned scrubbing toilets earlier. It says, do the students clean their bathroom or does the school come in for that? I was surprised when a friend said in school they didn't clean their own bathroom. So how does that work here?
So students do clean their own rooms, their own bathrooms. Do you have something to add, Alex? I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna answer it too. No, they will, that's in their roommate agreements, to talk about their cleaning schedules and their expectations. So especially for my girls who lose a lot of hair when you shower, remove your hair out of the shower drain and maybe write that down as an expectation and not have it all over the walls and things. Cause you're going to run into your little issues, but they will have to clean it themselves. So I do recommend things like toilet brush. We do have some plungers that we can give to them if they need them. But up to you all.
Yeah, I know my high school son is so smug about, like, what do you mean some college students don't know how to do their own laundry? I'm like, well, there's some things that you still have to learn. And so scrubbing toilets is in his future. He just doesn't know it yet. He's got to be ready for college in a few years. All right, folks, if you have any final questions, go ahead and put those in the Q&A right now. And otherwise, we'll start to wrap up. Kate has put the link to the Big Blue Move-In Cat Chat Live recording there if folks need that. We can also link to the, she's also added the what to bring, what not to bring list for the residence halls, which will make that move-in process easier. And we can also put the Big Blue Move-In link there as well. But while those final questions are coming in, wanted to share, I don't know if you all have been watching the Q&A, Alex and Kenyatta, but we've got really lovely comments. As you ladies are so lovely, you just seem so happy to do this job. Makes my mama heart happy, especially with an out-of-state freshman. Thank you. Isn't that sweet? I love that.
We love your Wildcats.
Yeah, hard hands.
We do love our jobs. I
We do.
swear. I love taking care of your all students while they're here. It's so fun. And it means that I don't have to have kids of my own. I love to see it.
Because you have hundreds. All right, a couple final questions coming in. Kimberly's asking if vacuums are available for students to borrow.
Absolutely. If they go down to our front desks and ask whether it's the student staff or the CAAs, we can get those checked out to them. We'll have them sign it out so that way we can make sure to get it back. So please have them bring it back so they do not have to get charged for a replacement for those because we do only have so many.
And we have a lot of things for students to check out in the front desk too. It'll vary by hall, but there's cleaning supplies, there's yard games, there's balls, there's just pots and pans and things of that nature if they want to cook. Feel free to come downstairs, check it out, and obviously clean it and bring it back. But definitely some things there for them to check out, to utilize in the halls.
All right, one more question to ask you about separating bunk beds. Can folks do that?
So I'm assuming you might be referencing the three-person two-bed. At this moment, no, we are not separating the bunk beds, just because there won't be enough space in the room. And so they are bunked because of spacing, and so we won't be able to unbunk it.
Yeah, I just picked up my kids from camp over the weekend, and so we were just having a conversation about preferences on lower bunk or upper bunk because they both were eager to get moved into their camp cabins, and both of my boys, as it turns out, are lower bunk kind of people, and so my husband and I were telling about our experiences in college. Years that we were on the top bunk, years we were on the bottom bunk, years that maybe we had some seniority and were able to. Have two separate beds. So it's all part of the experience for sure. All right, now our questions are headed more towards kind of room configurations. We can put, I think it's already in there, but we can put it in there again where folks can find online all of the floor plans for or each room and all of that. So good information there. And obviously for the sake of time, we can't get into kind of how one hall is set up versus another. All right, while we're putting that in the chat, there's another question. There's been discussion on headboards, and no headboard can be attached, but what about those pillows that look like headboards?
No headboards in the halls. Just the fire marshal directive. And so no headboards in the halls.
Fire marshal scares me. I will never oppose him.
They take their jobs very seriously, and that's what we want them to do.
Exactly.
I know sometimes it feels like they're the fun killers, but we want our students to be very, very safe. So
no, I'm totally joking. Our fire marshal's awesome. He's such a cool guy. But
well, and it's not surprising to me that what is it? September is like Campus Fire Safety Month, and so they're out and about in September, making sure that folks know. What they can and can't have and why the rules are what they are for sure. All right, so I think that we have gotten into most of the questions that have been asked. Oh, Kate's got that room type link in the chat. Perfect. All right. Oh, got one follow-up here on the headboard piece. I just emailed housing. They said wedge pillows are allowed. They are not attached. And I think wedge pillows, in my experience, are smaller than those pillow headboards. So that's a good clarification. All right. So with that, we'll let folks get on with their day. But Kenyatta, Alex, thank you so much for taking the time to provide all of this wonderful information. And I hope folks take away from this the fact that students are in such good hands with you all and your many colleagues in the Office of Residence Life. There's a huge team that you all are here representing, from the RAs, the front desks, all the way up to the senior leadership. And so we so appreciate what you all do to make sure our students have a really, really impactful experience in the residence hall. So thanks for taking the time to share all of this information. Families, we hope this was helpful to you, and we look forward to seeing you soon at another Cat Chat Live webinar. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.